35. So look, if you have problems with belly fat and if you spend a lot of your time trying to get your tummy flatter, if after you've had a baby and you take a look at your tummy and it's sitting real soft and you really need that to firm up, then stick around because today's session really is for you. So my name is Taryn Thompson. I'm your virtual health coach. And look, I've been on my own health journey. I've lost 28 kilos. And so over the last 6 years, I really dedicated myself to helping people achieve their ideal body. So I specialize in hormone health and health coaching. All right, so first of all, you got to understand a couple of things when you get to this age. And I can't believe I just said that because, you know, I'm 31 this year, and but I'm also a mum, and this was a very new concept for me because my tummy was always my proudest asset. You know, it always sat nice and flat. And so after I had a kid, I thought, what the heck is going on? The first thing I wanted was to be able to get my tummy back. And I used to think when my clients would come to me and they would say, look, I just want to be able to get rid of my tummy, but it doesn't seem to be going. It doesn't matter what I do, I seem to be able to lose weight from everywhere else, but I just can't lose weight from here. I thought, man, you know, I'm lucky that I know what I know, so I wanted to share with you what it is that needs to be different, okay? And it must be different. If you continue to do the same things, then your body will not take fat from this resistant area. And the reason why it becomes resistant after you've had a kid or after the age of 35 is because you don't produce as much of one hormone. Right now, there are probably many other hormones at play, but today we're going to be specifically talking about one hormone called growth hormone. Now, growth hormone is a fat-burning hormone, all right, and it's also been known to be called the anti-aging hormone. And when we're young, when we're like young kids and then going into our teen years and then getting into our 20s, we produce a lot of growth hormone, all right? And let me use some tools. Let's use this remote control. Now, this is going to represent growth hormone, okay? And this here, this shaker bottle is not a shaker bottle. It's actually cortisol, okay? It's a stress hormone. And these two hormones oppose each other, all right? So when you are young and you're producing a lot of growth hormone because you are growing, cortisol is opposed, all right? So this hormone is high, this hormone is low. But when you have a baby or after the age of 35, growth hormone starts to come down a little and cortisol starts to go up. Now, especially if you are at the age of 35, and if you haven't had a kid, most likely, you know, people have, but if you haven't had a kid, then this will not be as bad just yet. But if you have had kids and you are over 35, then it's like a double whammy, all right? If you are under 35 but you've had a child, look, the amount of stress that the body goes through by, you know, just being pregnant and then going through the whole birthing process, and then after that you have a kid and you never really sleep again, you know, you never really sleep well again or like you used to again, you know, or for quite some time, then cortisol is one of those hormones that really is dominating, all right, it really is ruling the roost, and it pushes this growth hormone down, okay, it pushes it quite low, and that's a real problem when it comes to fat storage around the belly because it really is a cortisol type fat. And so what you need to do is you actually need to know what to do in order to get growth hormone to be higher, but also in order to be able to suppress cortisol. It's really important. So when it comes to exercise, all right, when it comes to exercise, there are a couple of key things. I'm going to give you 3 things. 2 of them are going to be about exercise and 1 of them is going to be about your diet. All right, so let's start with exercise. First one is that there is two kinds of exercise, anaerobic and aerobic. And anaerobic exercise is anything high intensity. So a lot of the time we think, well, we're super determined to get that belly fat down, and so working hard and training hard is not a problem. You know, we'll do whatever it takes. Now, in the past, if you used to train this way and get results, you know, no worries. But when cortisol's high and growth hormone is low, the harder you exercise and the harder you train, the more that you're going to push this hormone up, okay? And it's a conflicting one to this hormone, all right? But only if you fall into that category, right, of being over 35 or if you are a mum, right? But so when it comes to doing high intensity exercise, it's actually about the rest time, all right? So it's about pushing yourself really hard, right? Pushing yourself to your maximum, but then allowing enough rest time in between for those stress hormones to come down. So the purpose of doing high intensity exercise is to push cortisol up, all right? Because adding stress to the body then later pushes this hormone up, okay? Did you get that? High intensity exercise is about pushing stress hormone up, pushing cortisol up, so that later, when cortisol comes down, growth hormone comes up, okay? And that's why when you're younger, this gives you fantastic results. This high intensity exercise is going to give you fantastic results. But now it's different. Now it's a bit different because this hormone is already sitting a little higher. And so when you do high intensity exercise, you push it even higher and you push it past its threshold, which pushes this hormone, growth hormone, even lower, okay, which means that it's not going to access that belly fat. But, okay, it's a big but. If you are doing high intensity exercise, right, so you're committed to that and you love it and you are all about getting maximum results and you're already doing it, that's no problem. But you got to make sure that when you push the body hard and it raises that cortisol level up, you rest for about 2 to 3 minutes, okay? You actually want to be aiming for about 2.5 minutes, but ideally. But for some of you, it might take 3 minutes in order for your heart rate to come down, in order for everything to settle. And what's actually happening in that rest time is that cortisol goes from up here and it starts to come down, okay? And it starts to slowly make its way down. And the nervous system starts to relax and everything starts to relax, which means that cortisol can start to relax, the adrenal glands can start to relax, cortisol comes down, all right? So then after you've fully recovered, then you go again and you do your next set. Now that's going to push cortisol right back up, but then when you rest for at least 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes, then cortisol starts to come down and it starts to lower. Then you are actually going to get maximum results later on with cortisol being able to get low enough and growth hormone being able to get high enough. Now, some of you, right, depending on how healthy the body is and how fit you are and, you know, whether you have been progressing your training well enough, some of you will only need to rest for that 2.5 to 3 minutes. But for others, if you have not been progressing your training, if you are just starting high intensity and interval training, if you're just starting weight training, you're actually going to need to rest for as long as 4 to 5 minutes in between those sets, which may seem like an eternity, but you're actually best to hop on the treadmill and walk, all right? Hop on the treadmill and walk in between your weight sets, okay? Because for some of you, it'll take that long in order for cortisol to come down. So this is how you'll know. You'll be sleeping better, okay? As cortisol comes down, you'll actually find that your quality of sleep, your ability to be able to fall asleep or stay asleep and not wake up in the middle of the night will improve. That is a sign that cortisol is low enough, okay, and that growth hormone is high enough. So that's the first thing with exercise. The second thing with exercise is that you've got to commit to doing aerobic exercise. All right, aerobic exercise is the opposite to high intensity interval training, okay? Or aerobic exercise is different to weight training. How you classify it is anything that you can sustain at a pace for 15 minutes or longer. Okay, so this would be like swimming, for example, if you can sustain a swimming pace for 15 minutes or longer. It would also be classified as walking, or for some of you who are a bit fitter, jogging or running. It really depends on your fitness level, but it'll come under the classification of anything you can sustain at 15 minutes or longer above resting heart rate. Okay, so if you are doing anaerobic exercise, then you must commit to doing aerobic exercise, and this is the reason why. Two different nervous systems operate when cortisol is low and when cortisol is high. Now, you've got the fight or flight nervous system, and you've also got the rest, digest, and recover nervous system. Now, when you are over 35 and after you've had kids and cortisol is sitting lower and cortisol is sitting higher and growth hormone is sitting lower, when this happens, your fight or flight hormones tend to be triggered a lot more frequently. Okay, so if you find that you go through the day and you feel quite flighty, okay, so you've got to get here, there, and everywhere, and your brain's constantly whirring and thinking, then that is also a sign that cortisol is high and growth hormone is low. So when you do aerobic exercise, what you're actually doing is you are exercising the nervous system that is responsible for keeping cortisol low. Okay, you actually exercise the same nervous system that operates when you're resting, digesting, and recovering. Okay, so when you feel quite flighty, right? When you're quite flighty and your brain is whirring and you've got lots on the go and you're here, there, and everywhere, that is a sign that cortisol is up. And what happens is if it's like that for over a long enough period of time, the wires get crossed and then your body does not know the difference between off and on. Okay, it does not recognize the difference between whether you're in fight or flight mode or whether you're in rest, digest, and recover mode. It cannot tell. And so when you exercise aerobically, say you go for a walk for 15 minutes or longer, then the body can see that because your heart rate is nice and steady, all right, the body can see and the body can recognize that, oh, okay, all right, so we're calm now because everything is operating at a pace, all right, rather than this up and down, fight, flight type of response. Okay, so aerobic exercise exercises that nervous system. So it's important, right? It may be a little bit boring for you if that's not what you're used to, but it's important that you make a commitment to do aerobic exercise. And if you are doing anaerobic exercise, then you automatically must make the commitment to do both. Okay, because anaerobic exercise is exercising that fight or flight nervous system. Okay, so that two things with exercise were about making sure that you get enough rest time, 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes. And for those of you who are just starting out with high intensity anaerobic exercise or who have not been progressing themselves, then you may need to wait for as much as 4 to 5 minutes, in which case you'll walk on a treadmill or you will do some kind of low intensity cardio in between your sets in order for cortisol to get low enough. Okay, so those are the top 2 tips with exercise. Now here's a third one with which is to do with your nutrition. You actually want to aim to be making sure that you get enough protein. Okay, you want to make sure that you get enough protein, at the same time not be getting too much protein. But from what I've seen, the frequency in which people eat protein during the day is quite low, especially for mamas and especially for those of us who are those of you who are over 35, which is in most cases mothers. All right, you actually need to take the time to prepare yourself some food, some proper meals, and look, you take the time to do it with your kids, so at the same time, prioritize getting things right for you so that you have more energy and have more get up and go and your hormones are much more balanced so that you can be a better mum, all right? Okay, so when you eat enough protein, that's going to stimulate growth hormone. And remember that these two oppose each other, so when you stimulate growth hormone, it's going to suppress cortisol, all right? These things are all going to help allow the body to start to access fat from your midsection. Okay, so it's going to allow the body to start to access fat from your midsection. The rules definitely do change when you aren't as young, right? That's the reality of it. When you aren't producing as much growth hormone because you're not in your 20s anymore, or you're now a mother, it's different for you, and hormones are definitely at play. So I really hope that you guys got some value from that. If you did, feel free to tap on the screen and give me some love, show me some hearts. If you're listening on Facebook, then the way that you do that is there's some features down the bottom right, and that'll bring some hearts up on the screen. Also share. Look, this content, you guys, could be the saving message for for some poor mother or some poor woman who's working her backside off at the gym, really stressing about how to target this problem area. Maybe she was like me and her asset was always that flat stomach, and now after baby or after turning to 35, her shape's starting to change and that saggy stomach is starting to come into play. So if you really want to be of service to someone and really help someone, then please do share this information. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Okay, so look, if some of this information you find is valuable, but you feel that sometimes it's a little bit complicated, that's okay. Look, if there's one or two things that you can take away from it, then that's great. But we also have a nutrition course available. Now I'm going to be starting a group coaching course in September, but if you need some guidance right now and you need a structure to follow right now, then what you can do is you can check out our 12-week course. It's an education course, and it is information about that is on our website. You want to go to generationhealth.co.nz. That's www.generationhealth.co.nz, and just check out the nutrition course tab. All right, well, that's all for this week, you guys. Monday to Thursday, 8 a.m. For those of you who are joining for the first time is when I do these training sessions. So feel free to join next week, Monday to Thursday at 8 a.m. Have a fantastic weekend, and yeah, make it a good one. All right, see you later.